Hey guys, long time no see, but here I am back with another video for you, so let's get right into it. So, you want to move to Taiwan. Here are some things you should know. Here are some things you should consider. By the way, I hope anyone who watches finds it useful and informative, but I'm mostly directing this towards my fellow Westerners from English-speaking countries. So depending on you and where you come from, some of this may or may not apply to you and your situation. If you have a specific question about something you think I didn't mention, something that worries you, feel free to drop me a comment below and I'll try my best to answer you. I think it's really important to consider these things before you pack your bags and set off to live on the other side of the world. You don't want to spend a ton of money and put in all this effort only to come out here to find you are miserable and you want to return to your home country because you feel overwhelmed. Okay, so let's begin. Things to consider. Number 1, you will be a minority. Are you comfortable with that? So really, unless you are a Taiwanese American or Taiwanese Canadian or something like that, you are going to be a minority here. You know, especially if you are non-Asian, you are going to be a minority here. Almost everybody you see here, almost everybody you meet here is not going to look like you. They are going to look very, very different from you. You are going to be like the one and only white guy around a lot of times, or the one and only black guy around, or the one and only Latino guy around. You know, you are going to be the one and only many, many times. Are you comfortable with that? Can you handle that? Can you be okay with the fact that almost everybody around you looks really, really different from you? Okay, number 2, depending on where you live and work, you could end up feeling very isolated. You and maybe 1 or 2 other people might be the only Western foreigners in town. Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with being alone? So with me in particular, pretty much my first year spent here in Taiwan, I lived in a tiny farm town in central Taiwan called Hefei. And really the only 2 like Western foreigners living in this tiny little farm town called Hefei was me and my one other friend Jesse. The other closest foreigners were living in Changhua City. Now, given that wasn't very, very far away, we could get there pretty easily, pretty quickly, but still, most of the time it was just us 2, and so it would be really, really easy to feel isolated, like you are totally alone. So, again, are you comfortable with that? You need to think about that. Okay, so next one, number 3. You might not see your friends and family back home for months or even years. Are you okay with only being able to communicate with them via the internet? So, I mean, you really, really need to think about that. Me, I see my mother probably once or twice a year. My father, I've only seen once in the last 6 years, 5 or 6 years. My one brother has never come out here, and my youngest brother has only come out here once with my father. So that's not very, very much. And I haven't had any of my close friends from back home come out here to visit. So the only communication I have with these people that I care about is via the internet. And you know how that is. It's just not the same as talking to somebody face to face and meeting up with them and spending time with them face to face. It's not the same. So can you handle that? You really better think about that. Okay, next one. I think this is number 4. Reading Chinese and speaking Mandarin is very difficult, especially for Westerners. So are you ready to struggle to communicate even basic things? Yeah, you guys got to think about this. Like when you're in your home country, you can do most anything. It's not that big of a deal. You want to buy something, you want to eat something, you want to go somewhere, it's no big deal, right? You just tell whoever the people are around you what you want, what you intend to do, and they got it right away. But here, even something basic like you walk into a restaurant and you want to order a hamburger and a drink, Well, if you don't have any Chinese at all, then you're going to really struggle to communicate. You're going to have to be miming, or you're going to have a dictionary with you, and it's going to be a big giant pain in the ass. So you really got to think about that. And learning Mandarin in Chinese is very difficult, because you got to understand, unlike English, Chinese lacks an alphabet. They don't have a Latin alphabet like we do. They don't have a Cyrillic alphabet like the Russians do. They don't have an alphabet, period. They have characters, which are basically pictures that equal words, right? So it's extremely different. It's really different, and it's really tough. Also, Mandarin Chinese is a tonal language. So not only do you have to learn new vocabulary, and not only do you have to learn new grammar in how you put a sentence together, but you have to remember how to say a specific word. Because depending on how you say that word, you could say something very different from what you intend to say, right? Like, you want some dumplings? Well, the way you said what you just said, they think that you want to sleep. So you need to think about that, and how hard it is to communicate even basic things when you come to Taiwan if you don't have any prior experience or knowledge of Chinese and Mandarin. Okay, so next one, and I think this one is number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 5. So, Taiwan experiences often typhoons and earthquakes. So are you okay with that? So earthquakes, I mean, I come from California where we get earthquakes quite often, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't really bother me. I've felt the earth shake before. It's not that big of a deal. You'll get through it. Typhoons, if you don't know, those are like the Asian equivalent of a hurricane. We get those quite often here in Taiwan. You probably get 3 or 4 a year during the summertime, and they can get pretty intense sometimes, but luckily for me, all the ones that I've been in haven't done any extensive damage to the properties that I've lived in, and it's never like threatened my life or like destroyed my scooter or anything like that. But these are strong acts of nature. If you come from a place where you don't really encounter any of these really incredible like natural phenomenons that come and wipe out buildings and kill people, that might freak you out. So you really need to think about, are you comfortable living in a place that experiences these forces of nature? Okay, so next one, and let's see, this will be number 6. Okay, so it's normal to work on Saturdays. It's normal to show up early and to leave late here in Taiwan. Can you deal with that? You know, you got to think about that. People here, they don't always necessarily work hard, but they work long. They work very long, and they put in the hours. It's just expected. It's a part of the working culture here. They do it, so they expect you to do it too, and they expect you to do it without complaint and without, you know, making too much of a thing out of it. You know, just grin and bear it and get on with it. Are you okay with that? You know, when you come here to live and work, it's exactly what it is. It's living and working. You're not here on like a holiday, on a vacation to goof around and be silly. You know, you got to be serious. You got to put in the time and do this hard work. So can you deal with that? Can you deal with that lifestyle? Think about it. Okay, and now the very last thing here in this first part of things to consider, you got to realize that the food here is very different from Western cuisine, and it could seem very weird, strange, or gross to you. And can you handle that? You know? Rice and noodles are staples here, not meat and potatoes. Can you handle that? Cheese and other things you like to eat in the West, like pretzels, for example, tacos, for example, turkey, for example. Those are not easy to find here, and they could end up being pretty expensive if you do find them. So can you handle that, you know? Can you handle the fact that almost every day it's rice and noodles, rice and noodles, rice and noodles? Can you handle the fact that people eat things here like stinky tofu, pig's blood cake, duck tongue, chicken feet, you know, things like that. Can you handle that? Can you put up with that, you know? Think about it. There are really, really some things you should think about. Food actually, it's actually really, really important, more important than people would think about. So think about that. Okay, and now the second part. So just some things to know about Taiwan, just some information that is going to be very, very important. Squat toilets are still a thing here. If you don't know, a squat toilet is not like the toilet where we have in the West, where it's basically like a chair where you sit down. A squat toilet is basically like a porcelain hole in the floor where you lower your pants a little bit and you squat over this hole, and that's how you do your business. You're squatting, you're not sitting down. It's totally different, you know? That might be a problem. I really, really hate squat toilets, and they really, really kind of irk me, and I try never to use them. You know, but can you handle that? Sometimes that's the only option, all right? You know, although I feel like I see less of them now, it still might be a problem. Okay, and now toilet paper. Toilet paper might not be provided in the bathrooms here. It very frequently you go to a bathroom and find out that there is none. So always make sure that you have some tissue packets on you when you head out. Be prepared. Be prepared to have those tissues, and be prepared to maybe have to use a squat toilet, unfortunately. Okay, next thing, number 2 of things that you should just know. Public trash bins are not very common here. So get ready to carry your trash home with you, or at least to the nearest convenience store so you can throw it out. Also, when it comes to trash, Taiwan is very big on recycling. Trash needs to be separated into 3 categories. So you have food and cooking waste, you have recyclables like glass, paper, and aluminum, and then you have just general garbage. So think diapers and tissues and that kind of thing, things that can't be reused or recycled. And also recyclables like food containers and soda bottles, they need to be washed out. You know, they need to be clean as possible, so that it's as easy as possible to recycle these materials, right? That's just the, how do I put this? That's just the trash culture here in Taiwan, if I can. That's just how people operate here. Okay, next thing, number 3 of things that you should just know. It is hot and humid here. In fact, as I'm recording this right now, as I'm recording my voice, I'm sweating. So you are going to need a fan and an aircon, an air conditioner for your house or your apartment. You're going to need to keep things dry, or you could get black mold, and that is not good. Black mold causes cancer. So personally, I have 2 dehumidifiers in my house, and we use them after we take a shower to get the water out of the air, and we use them when it's raining, again, to get the water out of the air. I suggest getting some for your place as well. Also, drink plenty of fluids and wear sunscreen. Heat stroke and skin cancer, it's not something you want to have to deal with, you know? Especially if you're a pasty white ghost like me, you're going to need that sunscreen. So go ahead and buy some before you come, or buy some when you get here. And lastly, in terms of toiletries, deodorant. And for girls on your period, let's talk about that stuff. Deodorant here is almost all spray-on, and you will have a tougher time finding the gel stick deodorant. So if you only like to use gel stick deodorant, maybe you want to stock up on that before you move here to Taiwan. And for the ladies out there, this doesn't really affect me, but I'm pretty sure it's the norm here for girls to only use pads. I think that you are going to struggle to find tampons. So girls, ladies, trying to be nice here, this doesn't affect me, but it affects you. If you're somebody who likes to use tampons, then maybe you want to stock up on those tampons before you come here, because I don't think you're going to be able to find them. Taiwanese girls don't really use tampons, they just don't. I've never seen them, I've just never seen them, period, here in Taiwan for sale anywhere at all. So just be aware of that, and okay. So, on that lovely note, with the armpit sweat and the period blood, I will say goodbye, guys. I hope I've given you plenty of things to consider and to think about. I really think you should know as much as possible before you decide to move to another country to live and work, especially one that is as different as Taiwan is to the Western world. And again, if you have a specific question about something you think I didn't mention, something that worries you, then feel free to drop me a comment below and I will try my best to answer you. Okay, so that's it. Thanks very much, guys, for listening to me and this video, this kind of podcasting type video where I just kind of ramble. Please remember to comment, rate, share, and subscribe, and I will see you again when I see you. Bye-bye.